Hello, and welcome to another look with Christian King. Today I'm here to do a quick rundown of next week's ESPN Plus UFC card. UFC on ESPN Plus 2, Assunção vs. Moraes 2. Fight will be taking place Saturday, February 2nd in Brazil, Fortaleza, Brazil. So we're 6 days out from this fight card. I'm just going to run down the fights kind of from bottom to top, just briefly looking for fighters to keep an eye on, and then I'm going to talk about the top two fights. Should be a pretty short show. So we start off, the whole card's on ESPN Plus. We've got prelims at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Main card starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is awesome. I love that early start time. Let's see what we got coming up. So you start working your way up. We've got Magomed Bibuletov. I'm probably butchering his name a little bit, but I am familiar with him. He got knocked out by John Moraga in his last fight. He's one of Ramazan Kadyrov's guys, so I always cheer against them because he is a ruthless dictator who persecutes and murders gay people in Chechnya. He's a terrible human being, so any fighter that's associated with him, I choose to root against because I think it's pretty common knowledge that persecuting and killing people for being different is wrong. Not a cool thing to do. Said Nurmagomedov, not related to Khabib, is coming back. He won that Justin Scoggins fight by split decision that I definitely thought he lost. He's taking on Ricardo Ramos, who knocked out, he had that great knockout against Faraz Sahabi's brother. And then he beat Kong Ho Kang in his last fight. After that, Junior Albini is taking on a gentleman I have not heard of. And I've never heard of Magomed's opponent, the first fight on the card either. That's a flyweight fight. Nurmagomedov's fight is a bantamweight fight. Then Junior Albini's coming back at heavyweight. He's coming off of a submission loss to Aleksei Olenenik. I'm butchering that name too. Then after that, we've got two people I've never heard of. We got Anthony Hernandez, who's 7-0, middleweight. But just to be honest, he's coming off the Contender Series. He's another one of these action fighters. He's taking on Marcus Perez, who is coming off a unanimous decision loss to Andrew Sanchez. I actually remember watching that fight. So then we get into the main card. We've got Souza. What's her first name again? I'm forgetting it right now, but she fought Angela Hill for the strawweight title in Invicta. She's taking on Sarah Frota, who I've not heard of, but she's undefeated. These are both Brazilian women. Wow, that woman has a lot of tattoos. Sarah Frota has a big neck tattoo and some face tattoos. Wow. I guess Beck Rawlings has a neck tattoo, so I guess she's not the only girl in the UFC with a neck tattoo. Although Beck Rawlings is not in the UFC anymore. Okay, then here's a fighter to really keep an eye on. Johnny Walker is coming back to take on Justin Ledet. Justin Ledet is coming off of the first loss of his career against Alexander Rakic by decision. Johnny Walker is coming off that amazing knockout of Khalil Roundtree, and he looks like he could be a lot of fun. He's also just got a great name, Johnny Walker. He's a light heavyweight fighting out of Brazil. This is obviously a light heavyweight fight. He is way taller than 6 feet. I don't know where they got that stat from. He's like 6'5". He's a huge dude. He's only 26. And something that's funny about him is that his name is not Johnny Walker, as you would imagine with him being Brazilian. His real name is something different, but over all the translations and them saying his name wrong and him fighting in different areas, it eventually became Johnny Walker, which that happened to another fighter that I can't think of at the moment, but where basically his name just got turned into something new that it isn't really. But that's definitely a fight to keep an eye on. I expect Johnny Walker to get a knockout or at least a decision win, probably a knockout in that fight, and continue to climb the ranks. Let's see. Sorry, sipping a little coffee as always. Charles Oliveira, Chucky, is taking on David Taymor. Let's see. David Taymor is a fun action fighter to keep an eye on. I was a little bit, his last fight against Nick Lentz, it did kind of bother me. I felt like there was a key fence grab in that fight, but the ref didn't call it, so it's not David Taymor's fault. Everyone cheats. It's the ref's job to call the fouls, but he grabbed the fence and that prevented a takedown that could have really impacted that fight. Charles Oliveira has been looking great lately. He's just been submitting people. He's got 3 submissions in a row. He beat Royce Gracie's record for the most submissions in the UFC recently, and then added on to it with his submission over Jim Miller, which was also a revenge fight because Jim Miller submitted him back in the day. So that should be a really fun fight. Honestly, I'm not really sure who I expect to win that fight. It's at lightweight, which is good for Charles Oliveira's durability. He is very long and rangy. I could see him getting a submission on David Taymor, but I could also see David Taymor winning a decision by keeping the distance and just utilizing good striking and low kicks. Lyman Good is taking on Damian Maia. I mean, this is one of those fights where either Damian Maia is going to get the takedown, he's going to get the submission, or Lyman Good's going to just kind of stay on the feet and piece him up. If I'm remembering his game correctly, he throws lots of kicks, unless I'm thinking of his opponent when he fought Dos Santos. I could be getting confused a little bit. Looking down his list, I'm not seeing any submission losses, so that's a good sign for him. I'm not really sure what to make of the fight. It just depends on how much Damian Maia has in the tank and how much more he has left to show. I'm just not really sure where he's at in his career at this point. He's definitely in the latter half of it, probably the last quarter of his career. But, probably the last 10% of his career realistically. He's getting close to the end there, but if he can come in and utilize his wrestling and get Lyman Good to the ground, he certainly has the capability to submit anyone. And he's not a small welterweight either, so he does do well controlling people once he gets them down. He used to be a middleweight, as everyone should know. Okay, so now we're getting into the top 2 fights of this card, the 2 best fights of this card. First up, we have Jose Aldo taking on Renato Moicano. This is going to be a tough one to make a decision on. I have no idea who I'm picking as of right now. We'll get into some odds after I decide what I'm doing here. So, Jose Aldo looked great in that win over Jeremy Stevens. But in the 2 fights before that, he got stopped by Max Holloway twice and took a lot of damage. Renato Moicano, in my opinion, isn't a big finisher in the striking department. He's definitely not going to submit Jose Aldo. This is going to be a striking battle at Muay Thai range. Renato Moicano is significantly bigger than Jose Aldo, which is a little bit of a cause for concern if you're a Jose fan like I am. He's definitely has a significant height advantage. And, I never know if I can trust what I'm reading when I click on someone's profile and look at their reach and stuff. So it's hard to really use that fully as a measuring stick. But let's see, just for the sake of it, I'm going to go to the UFC's website and see if I can get them lined up here. Let's see. All right, so we got Jose Aldo's 32, Renato Moicano's 29. Jose Aldo is 5'7", Renato Moicano is 5'11", and then Jose Aldo actually does have a decent reach, though. He's got a 70-inch reach, so he'll only be giving up 2 inches in the reach. Renato Moicano has great leg kicks, but I don't really know. I feel like Jose Aldo is so good at understanding how leg kicks work in a fight that he has not only great leg kick offense, but great leg kick defense. Renato Moicano does have a really nice jab. Max Holloway was able to utilize the jab against Jose, so that does give me a little bit of concern. I mean, to be honest, either one of these fighters, regardless of who I pick, I'm going to have concerns and I'm going to have doubts. But what I'm going to look to is that Renato Moicano was winning a fight at the end in the second half of the 3rd round. He had a comfortable lead against Brian Ortega, was winning that entire fight, and decided to shoot for a takedown and get instantly guillotined. So that shows me that Renato Moicano, while that was a few fights ago, that shows me that Renato Moicano is still developing his fight IQ, and Jose Aldo is a tactical genius when it comes to fight IQ and has excellent defense and just excellent knowledge and flow through the fight. I'm going to take the veteran here. I'm going to take Jose Aldo to get this done. I definitely do not think in 3 rounds he stops Renato Moicano, so I will be taking Jose Aldo to win a decision. I don't think it will be a split decision. I think it will be a unanimous decision. So I'm taking Jose Aldo to win a unanimous decision over Renato Moicano. So we are going to move on. Well, first we're going to look at the odds for that. Jose Aldo is the underdog, which I would have thought probably. Plus 118 would be the best odds to get him at. Renato Moicano is the favorite. Minus 130 is as high as you're going to get his negative number. So there you go. All right, moving on to the main event. And we've got a bantamweight main event. That's a featherweight fight before, obviously. Jose Aldo, featherweight king for a long time. Rafael Sunsao is taking on Marlon Moraes in a rematch. That Rafael Sunsao won the first fight by split decision or unanimous. I don't remember, but it was a close decision. I did think he deserved it. This is a rematch. Basically, both these guys have nowhere else to go but fight for the title, so they're going to fight each other, and then the winner will be left waiting for TJ Dillashaw once they figure out what's going on there. So let's dive right into this. When you do the rundown, the only thing that jumps off the page is the age. Especially at a lighter weight class, 36, which is Rafael Sunsao's age, is pretty old for a bantamweight. 30 is a pretty great prime age for bantamweight, and that's how old Marlon is. They both, we've got 65-inch 65-inch height. That would be 5'5" versus 5'6". I don't think either one of them are that tall. I'm pretty sure they're both more like 5'4". They both fight at 135. They both probably walk around about the same, and they both have the same reach of 66 and a half versus 67-inch reach. Same thing. So yeah, pretty similar there. I think Marlon Moraes is the quicker fighter. I think he's also the more powerful fighter. Well, sorry, not probably. He's definitely the more powerful, more explosive fighter. And I also believe him to be the faster fighter. And I'm sure the age doesn't hurt there. So what there really is, we've already seen this fight, and it was a close tactical decision that was very competitive that Rafael Sunsao barely edged out. And what has changed since then? What's changed since then is that Marlon Moraes has gotten more UFC fights under his belt and gotten more comfortable. That was his UFC debut. Rafael Sunsao, in the meantime, has also gotten more experience, but at the same time, he's gotten older. Marlon Moraes, basically what I'm getting at is I feel like in this rematch, this favors Marlon. Marlon has had major highlight reel wins to build his confidence. Rafael Sunsao has had wins too, but they've been more work. Marlon Moraes has gotten 2 really beautiful knockouts back to back, and for me, that shows that he is really coming into his own in the UFC and really feeling comfortable and loose to just be throwing strikes like that in the first round. And I feel like when they fought the first time, Marlon Moraes he had those UFC jitters. He had that first UFC fight. He was anxious. It took him a little bit to get settled into the fight. And I think that this time around, he's not going to need any of that. I think this time around, he's going to be ready to go. So that leads me to favor Marlon, because once you even out that part that was out of balance in the first fight, then we get to the fact that, as I said a minute ago, Marlon is younger, he's more explosive, he's more powerful, he's faster. So to me, this is a 5-round fight, and that gives Marlon a lot of time to put damage on Rafael Sunsao. I don't know if I've ever seen either one of these men go a full 25 minutes. I know I've never seen Rafael Sunsao do a full 25-minute fight. I don't remember if Marlon had any that actually went the distance in World Series of Fighting. I don't think he did. I think he finished most of his opponents over there. So, not really sure. I mean, this could be a first-round knockout for all we know. I mean, I could see this being a first-round knockout, or I could see this being a 5-round decision. I'm not really sure, to be honest. My pick, I'm taking Marlon to win this fight. So I'm taking Marlon to win this fight. And I am I guess I'm not really allowed to do this. You can't really sit on the fence, but I'm basically saying it's a unanimous decision or a round one knockout. I don't think there's anything else that it's going to be. I think he's either going to win the whole fight or he's going to end it in the first round. I think if Rafael Sunsao is able to take his shots in the first round and avoid getting caught with anything big, then I don't think Marlon's going to finish him later on in the fight. I think if that happens, then the fight will go the full distance. But I've got Marlon winning this fight either way. And I hope that they put him against TJ Dillashaw after this because I think that'd be a great fight. And after that quick finish and the controversy on the first ESPN Plus card with Cejudo beating Dillashaw as quickly as he did with the questionable stoppage, I would just like to see TJ go back up to 135 and fight people that have been earning their title shot like Marlon. So I've got Marlon winning this fight, and I'm picking him, and then I'm saying I'm just picking him as a straight pick. I'm not picking a method, but I'm telling you it's either going to be a first round knockout or a unanimous decision. That fight's going to be a lot of fun. The odds here, we've got Marlon minus 189 is the best odds you can get him at as the favorite. Rafael Sunsao, you can get him as high as plus 180 as the underdog. So that's it for me. Bellator fights last night were a lot of fun. I thought that was a bad stoppage in the main event until I watched it again. It was a good stoppage. It's just hard to see a legend like Fedor go out like that. How about Henry Corrales knocking out Aaron Pico? That was crazy. That fight was nuts for as long as it lasted. I think it was like a minute 30 or something. But that's all I've got for today. Pretty short one, as I figured it would be. Looking forward to those fights next Saturday. And then I'll be back next Sunday as well to do I'll recap those fights a little bit. I'll preview the pay-per-view on February 9th. All that good stuff. I'll be back then. Until then, y'all take care.